Hey friends, it's Callie. Thanks so much for joining me today. I've got a stenciled card to share with you. I'm using the Waffle Flower Heart Bloom Stencil Trio. This is the pattern printed on their package insert so you can see what you're going to be doing. There are 3 stencils and they are numbered and the recommended colors are on there in grays, but we're not doing any grays today. We're going to be doing greens and happy colors. So let's get started. You'll see here on this very first stencil, it's quite busy and there are a lot of foliage and there's also some hearts. So I'm going to be mindful about those hearts, and you could really mask it off, but I am going to be a rebel and I'm just going to tell myself to not work over those areas. So I'm going to use the lid of my ink pads to kind of blend the ink onto my dauber and pick up that ink so that it can all distribute evenly onto my dauber before I start blending on my cardstock. I've got Hammermill cardstock here. That's my favorite for blending and Copic coloring. I am adding the colors over the foliage only. Again, I am leaving out those hearts. And then once I'm done with the lighter green color, I'm going to go in with a darker green color and just add shade to those stems and the bottoms of the leaves if I can get in there. I love using the finger dauber on more detailed stencils like this, so I feel like I have more control. All right, so moving on to those little hearts that we left out. I did clean my stencil, so we don't want to contaminate the pink with the greens. So now I'm just adding a light pink and then again adding a darker pink just towards the bottom of each of the hearts. I love dimension, so I try to add it whenever I can. Okay, so now we're moving on to the second stencil. It does help you line up that some of the sprigs do line up with the previous stenciled images that we laid down with the brighter green. Now we're going in with the more sage olive colored green. I'm adding that over the foliage that has not been inked yet, and then I'm saving the previously inked sprigs for this darker laurel green. And I'm just, again, adding dimension to the stems and to the leaf areas where I am able to do that. All right, so we're done with that second layer and all of the greenery. Now we're going to get into the fun part. I love stenciling the larger hearts and images. I feel like you can get a lot of dimension and detail into those. I'm pulling back out that lighter pink that I used earlier, which is hollyhock on the other hearts that I used. I'm using a very light hand on these hearts because we're going to be adding lots of color to create lots of dimension because we're able to with a larger area like this. So once I'm done adding a thin layer of ink on this first layer, I'm going to bring in a darker color. I'm using watermelon. And again, I'm just adding lots more color around the bottom and outer edges of each of these images or areas. So as you can see, adding a second darker color really gives it a lot more contrast and interest. I'm going to step it up another notch and add some dark purple. And I know that's not very intuitive. You would probably think to use like a darker red, which is totally okay. I just thought using a purple would really give it a lot of definition and contrast. So I thought that this looks really pretty and I was really happy with that. Now that we're done with the stenciling, I want to add a stitched detailed border. So I'm using my stitched rectangle die here to just cut that stitching around this rectangle before I do anything else. I want to give this a little bit more texture, so I'm going to bring in my splatter box. I know this is a huge risk and some people don't like splatters, but what can I say? I love splatters, so I'm just going to go for it. You got to be fearless with your splatters. And it doesn't matter what kind of opaque white ink that you use. I am using acrylic paint. I just put it on an acrylic block and water it down with some water and then splatter it. And then here I decided to add some pink as well. So I am using my same white brush and I'm just mixing that up with a little bit of water to make that pink more opaque. And then I splattered it, and that will just add a little bit of texture and interest to that background. So now that I have that, I'm going to set it aside to dry while I die cut my sentiment. This set here is the oversized heart die and also the oversized heart sentiment. So we're going to be using both. I'm going to die cut that heart die from black cardstock, and then for dimension you can layer several layers of cardstock or use foam adhesive. I'm going to change it up a little bit and use some black craft foam. And I forget to do this a lot, but I remembered for this particular video, and so I thought it was super helpful to maybe show you the process. I just added some double-sided adhesive on the back of my craft foam, and you can do that for the front too. I just happen to only have it covered on one side. So I'm adding adhesive on the top layer and adding that paper layer on top of the foam. And then I'm going to clean it up a little bit before I remove that backing and attach it to my card panel. This makes it super easy to already have that adhesive on the back, so you're not fussing with so much glue and then it oozing all over your card. So that's another option if you don't like cutting a bunch of hearts and layering them together paper-wise, and so I just wanted to share this option with you. This was actually, I learned it from Lori Willison, who is quite clever with her techniques. Okay, so we've got the heart sentiment now, and I'm just gonna stamp 2 of them and emboss them, and then it will say, "My heart belongs to you." I'll emboss that and then trim it down off camera, and then I'm going to pull in my T-ruler to help me line everything up, add foam adhesive, and then attach that to my card. And usually, if I remember, I'll add embellishments after I attach my card panel to a card base. So that's what we're doing now. I am on a craft foam kick. So here we are. I've got double-sided adhesive on both sides of a piece of white craft foam. I do have a lot of these prepared, and I just have it stacked in a cabinet, and then whenever I need them I just pull them out, and it makes it super quick. Alright, so I am attaching that to a card base, and then last but not least, I am going to add some embellishments to my card to finish. I'm using some Trinity Stamps Soapy Bubbles. These are my favorite iridescent sequins, and it comes in 3 or 4 different sizes, I believe. And so I am just laying them out and then attaching them once I've decided where I want to put them. It's not completely necessary for this card, but a little bling never hurt anyone, right? So that is it for my card today. I hope you learned a few tips and tricks if you didn't already know them before. As always, I appreciate your time so much, so thank you for watching. I hope you'll subscribe and hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already done so. And if you're interested in all of the supplies that I use, be sure to check out my blog where I link all of the products. I'm linking 2 more videos if you're interested in watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye everyone!